Welcome back to Thompson to Clark. Brad and I are here, and we're about to talk not about Giants baseball in our first segment, though there are some Giants ties. It is almost World Baseball Classic time.
Yeah.
The pool play starts on Wednesday, and Team USA plays on Friday. So this is the week where we'll get some actual, real, non-spring training baseball.
Yeah, kind of crazy. They had their first workout today, so you got to see everybody on the field. Saw some video of that, which is really cool. It's going to be weird though because Blade Tidwell is going to be on the mound for us tomorrow, and Logan
Tomorrow
Webb said
against Team USA.
Yeah, Logan Webb said he's gonna ride him from the dugout. So
Yeah, he said he was going to heckle him, but then he just kept saying, "I'm talking crap."
Yeah, it's great. Logan Webb's not going to pitch until the opening round, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. You always get a little bit nervous because you got like your kid on the mound, Blade Tidwell, and then you've got these mashers at the plate. We're going to be driving, shots back up the middle. So yeah, a little scary. But hey, you know what? He's going to be facing big leaguers probably this season at some point. So
well, Tidwell was like, "I want to face Aaron Judge." And I was like, really? Is that really who you want to face right now? Well, I guess if he can strike him out, he kind of gets on the map, right? If
I mean,
wave.
This is a good. This is kind of one of those good things. It's just like a little bit more of an audition for these guys. So like Tidwell and anybody who comes out of the bullpen, a little bit of an audition because you're facing the best of the best. So I mean, because the USA baseball team, they're not fielding chumps. Like, back when they first started doing this, guys are like, yeah, I don't think I want to play. I don't know. No. Now you're pretty much getting the best of the best saying, I want to be there because they're seeing the other guys on their team, the best of the best, like Francisco Lindor. And those guys, they want to play for their countries.
Lindor can't play, right?
He can't. Yeah, that was a bad example. He can't play because of the whole insurance thing, which is a mess to begin. I don't quite understand it, but there's
I don't either.
Yeah, there's a lot of insurance issues why certain guys can't play. But that being said, you're still getting the best of the best going to their countries to play because they want to win. And then you've got and again, these guys can't pitch either. But you got I think Yamamoto can pitch. But Shohei's not able to pitch.
Shohei's not going to pitch during the World Baseball Classic.
Is Yamamoto? I don't think he is.
I think he's going to pitch once they advance.
That's what it is.
What's going to happen?
Yeah.
And so okay,
there's weird stuff like that.
We'll go through the Team USA roster here in a second. We'll also go through the schedule and kind of the pools, how those are laid out. And like I said, Team USA plays Brazil on Friday. We may see Logan Webb throw that game, or he may throw the following game against Great Britain, which would be against Tristan Beck's team.
Right.
So Logan Webb is pitching for Team USA, like we said. Tristan Beck is throwing for Great Britain. Harrison Bader is on Team Israel. Elio Ramos is on Team Puerto Rico. Jung-Hoo Lee is playing for his Team South Korea. And Jose Buto and Luis Ariz playing for Venezuela. And then there's another guy who's playing that I didn't even recognize his name, but he's on the Giants roster in some way. But that's a lot of guys. Like if you turn on a World Baseball Classic game, there's a half decent chance you're going to see somebody playing for the Giants.
Yeah, for sure. The schedule's interesting too, because this year, I think what they finally decided to do is they're going to put some games on at 7 p.m. our time. So on Wednesday night, the first pool play game is Taipei against Australia. And that's a 7 p.m. game here on the West Coast. So that's kind of exciting because I don't know how many times we're like, hey, all right, we're going to, World Baseball Classic opens up in Japan.
3:00 in the morning.
Yeah, for us, it's like 1 a.m. and then 3 a.m. And you're like, well, I'm going to wake up and catch the tail end of the game. So to have some primetime games, and that continues on. So there are some 2 a.m. games, which would be 11 for us, 11 p.m. for us, which I'm in bed. You're usually awake at 11 p.m. I'm not. I'm I'm already an hour and a half into sleep at that point. But
Yeah,
the 7 p.m.
I'm in
games are going to be
I'm in
fun.
the second half usually of one of our NCAA games by 11 p.m.
Yeah, I always wake up in the morning to see if you played. Oh, he played. He played last week. Oh, wait, hold on, yeah. I'm up at 11 p.m. most nights, so yeah, it's not working.
You know what's interesting is and this kind of shows you how smart Netflix is. Like Netflix doesn't have the US rights. That is still Fox and Fox Sports. What they did is they grabbed the Japan rights for the World Baseball Classic because I would imagine that they'll do bigger ratings in Japan than they'll do here for the US. But that
Yeah, for sure.
you know, it's if you are a Japanese baseball fan and you're a Dodgers fan, you know, because Dodgers have this giant crossover with the Japanese audience. And like, even if you're a Dodgers fan and you're not Japanese, you want to see your guys, like those are some of the games to watch, right? And maybe you want to see your guys and make sure that they don't get hurt. But it is a fun, like, you know, and we only do it every 3 years, so it's not like it's every year and you kind of get bored of it or whatever. It's like, oh, it feels special. And this is, I think, the second one we've covered on this podcast, if I'm remembering correctly. 2023, did we do that one?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, because that was the wasn't that Shohei against Trout, right?
Yeah, I think so.
In the final AB. Yeah, that was
Crazy
we did
moment,
cover
man.
that. That was insane. I mean, and that's the stuff you kind of live for. These are all-star games. When you get down to the final rounds, they're all-star games. And
Good all-star games, like competitive all-star
yeah.
games. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, games that don't mean anything in the standings, but they mean something to the players. And that's the important part. When you're watching an NBA basketball all-star game, I mean, I'm talking the 90s because I haven't watched basketball in a long time. But when you're talking about 90s basketball all-star games, those were fun. They didn't really mean much to the guys other than like they got to play with each other, which was cool, and they had a good time. But this is different, man. This is it's not on the level of the World Cup soccer. It's not on the level of I don't think of Olympic hockey. You know, that's kind of the big one. Olympic basketball is another big one. Olympic baseball has never been a big thing, so this kind of takes the place of that, and I think it levels it up a little bit. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a good year for it. I'm not sure when the final rounds are. It always happens whenever the final rounds are. We're in Disneyland. It always happens. But it looks like this year, actually, we might be done before that. As I'm looking, and yeah, it looks like it goes into like Tuesday, March 17th. So about a week before I leave, we should have a winner. So that'll be kind of fun.
So let's go over to the Team USA roster here. I want to dig in. Let's look at the pitching staff. You have Will Bednar's big bro, David Bednar. I think is he closing for this team?
He is, yeah. I believe so.
You have Matthew.
He's in the running for the Yankees closer. So that's kind of your guy.
You have Matthew Boyd. You have Garrett Clevenger. You have Clay Holmes. You have Nolan McLean, Clayton Kershaw. The mop-up duty of all mop-up duties for Clayton Kershaw here.
Yeah.
You think he's going to get on the mound?
I mean, with the teams they play and pool play, yeah, I think so. I think he'll get an inning here and there.
Brad Keller, Griffin Jacks, Mason Miller. Mason Miller could close maybe. Joe Ryan. But did they have to remove Joe Ryan? Didn't he have like a little tweak in his arm or something?
Yeah, he's eligible. I think when you put him on, he's on a particular list. I can't remember the name of the list, but once you put somebody on that list, then it's kind of like the World Series and the Major League Baseball playoffs. After each round,
got it.
He's eligible to come back in if they need him. So,
and then you got the dynamic duo of Skeens and Skubal. Though I know Skubal's only going to pitch one game, and it's going to be very early, and then he's going to be done. And then Gabe Spear, Michael Wacha, of course, Logan Webb. Logan Webb might actually be their most valuable arm because of how much he may have to pitch.
Knowing Logan Webb as we do, he could probably go 9 innings in the first game. We know him so well. That guy could just go out there and just throw 9 innings, throw 112 pitches, and the next day he's like, yeah, I'm fine.
Do we know what Skeens is going to do? Is he going to just pitch like 1 or 2 games, or is he going to be there through the whole thing?
I'd have to go back and look at his game log and see where he's at right now on his pitching regimen. But I would say Logan Webb threw 2 innings in his first spring tune-up start. So, I mean, that tells you where Logan Webb's at. Skeens, he's pitched limited the last couple of seasons. Probably 2 innings, maybe 3 at this point.
So I wonder who the swing arms are going to be. Like, who are they going to depend to pick up the bulk innings after the starter goes like 3 or 4? That's really about managing the bullpen, is managing those middle innings.
Yeah, let me look at the roster here.
Garrett Whitlock is the other arm. He's the last arm after Logan Webb.
Yeah, I mean, Jax can give you a couple innings. Michael Waka can give you a few innings. Yarbrough can give you a few innings. So I think those are going to kind of be your swing guys. They're going to come in and kind of mob. Matthew Boyd is going to give you some innings. So I think all those guys can give you 2 or 3 here or there. So
yeah, the managing the bullpen's got to be the most like anxious thing for DeRosa.
Well, he's got a list of requirements.
Yeah, he's got to look at the list to go, oh, this guy went 13 pitches. I got to get him out before he gets to 20. Like,
yeah, you know, and he has probably a valuable list too, because that list probably has Buster Posey's autograph on it, because it probably says Logan Webb, no matter what he says, cannot go more than 4 innings. Signed to Buster Posey.
Well, I mean, because like if you think about it, as they go you go through pool play, you get to the semifinals and the championship game. I mean, if you do have a championship game, and let's say Team USA is in it, does Logan Webb stretch to 5? Does he if he's going well, if he's going under 60 pitches, does he finish 5 and then you fill in the rest inning, and then boom, Mason Miller to shut it down?
I think the tricky part is going to be Logan Webb's going to pitch on March 25th. I think we already know that.
Yes.
He's going to pitch on March 25th to open the season. So it's going to kind of line up. Like, where is he? How much time between his last game with Team USA? Again, if they get eliminated, in the next round early, then he's going to be back with San Francisco and from there going, back on his pitch count and everything else. So I think they do a really good job of sticking to that. So that's where it's a little bit difficult with the WBC, because you have some guys, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, who aren't necessarily major league pitchers. And some of those guys start the games and they'll go 6 innings if they can. But we don't have that luxury because all of our guys are Major League Baseball players and they're in spring training and they're getting warmed up. But some of the guys from like the Dominican leagues and the Venezuelan, the Caribbean World Series, everything else, they're coming from being stretched out already because their season was over the winter. And I did watch a couple of games. There were some games on MLB.TV. So I was able to catch a couple of those games, but yeah, a lot of those guys are kind of stretched out. Not the major league pitchers, but the guys who are, fringe, still trying to, kind of hang on to their careers, and they can go 5 or 6 innings. So yeah, that's where it gets a little weird.
All right. So let's look at the way this tournament breaks down here. And you know what? I had a list of what it looks like, but I think I actually had the 2023 version. Let's see. I need to find the 2026 version.
Yeah, it's funny looking at the roster because you go down and you see USA Team USA Baseball. You're looking down and you're looking at all the major league affiliations that they're with. And you've got Clayton Kershaw that's just got nothing next to it because the guy's retired. So that's always funny to see.
All right, let's see if I can share this, at least on the live stream here. Let's see if this works. All right, there we go.
There we go.
Okay.
All right.
So here's our format. Pool A, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Canada, Panama, Colombia. Pool B,
That's a tough one right there.
well, the problem is that there are so many Puerto Rican players who didn't get insured that their team kind of took a hit.
Yeah.
I saw somebody, people are looking at this from a betting angle, like we have to look at everything from a betting angle these days.
Of course.
I'm so frustrated having to listen to a
I know.
podcast where the focus is on betting.
Yeah.
But they said that they thought Canada actually had a nice opportunity here because Puerto Rico is a little bit of a lesser team this year. Pool B, U.S., Mexico, Italy, Great Britain, and Brazil. And Pool C, Japan, Australia, Korea, Czechia, Chinese Taipei. Pool D, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Netherlands, Israel, Nicaragua. And so how the quarterfinals work is you have the Pool A runner-up against the Pool B winner, and same thing on the other side, C and D, and then the Pool B runner-up and Pool A winner. And then when you get out of that, you get into the semifinals. And so you have the quarterfinals winners going against the opposite side quarterfinals winners before you get to the championship. So what this tells me is that the United States and Japan could play before even they get to the championship game if things fall that way. But I would imagine that both teams will probably win their pools just because I think they're the two best teams in the whole thing.
Right.
So I would love to see a rematch in the finals. I read something that Team USA has only won the World Baseball Classic once in the 5-year history. And so, I think they, like you said, they kind of souped up the team a little bit because they really, really wanted to get this one. But they're the favorite, though. I kind of look at Japan's roster and I'm like, should we be the favorite? I don't know. Japan is stacked. And it's not only the fact that Japan is stacked. I feel like they understand how to play in a tournament like this a little bit better than the U.S. does because it's right before spring training. And like we said, like if this thing was, worth as much as the World Series, you'd get Skubal and Yamamoto, going toe to toe in the championship game, but Skubal's not pitching past this first game. So I kind of wonder. I know a lot of people think Team USA is going to win this thing, but I still think Japan should be the favorite or should be pretty even between the two teams.
Yeah, I think in the Dominican Republic is always a really tough team. I mean, I'm looking at their roster and holy moly. I mean, you look at their infielders. They got Caminero, Vlad Jr., Machado, Ketel Marte, Jeremy Pena, and then the outfield they've got Tatis, Julio Rodriguez, Juan Soto, O'Neal Cruz is your fourth outfielder. So that's going to be a nasty one. It's going to be pitching, Sandy Alcantara, who's had a couple of tough seasons.
I thought isn't he out?
He might be out, but he's on the roster that I'm looking at.
I thought he had to get Tommy John or something.
And then you've got Alcantara is back. He doesn't. Yeah. He's a big trade talk this spring training. So this is kind of a showcase for him actually. But then you're looking at your closer is probably going to be the Tranquilo Camilo. So,
okay. I'm actually a little bit more comfortable with.
Well, they do have Santos, who's still trying to win a spot with us in the bullpen. So that's going to be interesting to watch as well.
Yeah.
So is it going to be Santos? Because he does have Gregory Santos does have closer history. And that's something you and I haven't talked about as much, is that Santos does have that, but he is a non-roster invitee.
Mm-hmm.
He is on a minor league deal. So it's kind of a matter of him having to make the 40-man to even, be in the Giants bullpen. But yeah, the Dominican, that's going to be a tough matchup. Dominican against Japan. I think we've seen that for a few seasons. That could be a big matchup. So the key is to win your pool. If United States wins their pool, they're going to probably be facing, Now that I look at the roster of Puerto Rico, Pool A is kind of up for grabs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you think? I mean, you've got Colombia that may be a tough one. They were kind of the underdogs that came out last tournament. So yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting to see who comes out of Pool A. But yeah, I would still think, looking at Japan's roster, I still think that they have the advantage, and they're probably the favorites at this point.
Yeah, interesting that Team USA still has the best odds to win, and I'm looking at that going like, okay,
I don't
not
know.
too
I
sure
don't
about
know.
that. I mean, but you're right that Team USA does have a much improved team, and let's go through the position players. Cal Raleigh and Will Smith. You don't really get too much better than that from the
Right.
catcher's perspective. Infielders: Alex Bregman, Gunnar Henderson. Oh, Ernie Cheese Clement.
Our guy, man. He is really he showcased himself in the World Series as being a guy who comes up with key hits and just a defensive wizard at second base. So he's kind of come along since we last saw him a couple seasons ago in San Francisco. We went to the game. And you got his big old face and his smile up on the scoreboard in Oracle. The guy, he really kind of cemented himself as a Toronto favorite during the World Series last year.
Bryce Terang, Paul Goldschmidt, the elder statesman Paul Goldschmidt, Bobby Witt Jr., and Bryce Harper. Bryce, not elite Harper, by the way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, let's hope he is elite.
Yeah, he needs to be elite.
Yeah.
Outfielders: Roman Anthony, who supposedly bulked up in the offseason there.
Oh,
Byron Buxton, Pete Crow Armstrong, and Aaron Judge, and the designated hitter Kyle Schwarber. So it's a really good team. You can't really complain about how they put this team together. So it's them in Japan, they should be the top two teams here. But I'm super excited. It's kind of like it's a little bit of like the appetizer for right before the season starts, because I think you said this will end about a week before the season starts. So nice little appetizer. We'll get to watch some real baseball, and then when the show comes out, I'll get to play some of these World Baseball Classic little updates. I forget what they call challenges or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Patrick Bailey. There's an article that came out today. I want to say it was Baggerly.
Yeah, it was Bags.
And he wrote that Patrick Bailey, he found a unique thing about the ABS, which actually helps him, or could help his pitcher. And I'm actually wonder if they're able to weaponize this. So basically, the umpire's vision, like the idea of framing, is you want to catch that ball so that the umpire sees it very clearly, no doubt about it, and so that you don't give them any reason to not call a strike a strike.
Right.
Now, if you think about if a pitcher gets crossed up, a catcher gets crossed up, or a pitcher throws a pitch that is supposed to be, like, say, on the inside corner target, but the pitch kind of goes awry, and the catcher has to kind of dive over and catch it. Generally, it's not going to be called a strike because the umpire is kind of fooled in a sense. Now, there was a situation the other day where Patrick Bailey had to do that, where the pitch wasn't where he was expecting it, and he kind of had to backhand it. And he thought, well, even though this didn't look good, like I wasn't able to catch this correctly for the umpire, it was still a strike. And so he used the ABS system, and it was a strike, and they got the strike. Now, I wonder if in his weird catcher's brain, he's like, I wonder if we can do this, like set it up that way, like have Logan Webb, you're setting up for an inside strike, but Logan Webb is in on the thing and you're in on the thing, and you kind of have to dive over, and the catcher, the batter is kind of fooled because he's hearing you on the inside, and then you dive out to the outside. I wonder if they're going to weaponize that, because I thought that was kind of an interesting little wrinkle to the ABS system.
You know, when they started talking about the ABS last year, there was some ideas kicked around. I remember reading this of how great, like you just said, how great Patrick Bailey is on taking a borderline strike, pulling it back into the zone, framing it, and having it called a strike. What about the opposite of him taking a border? So you set up on the outside, not what happened yesterday, but you set up on the outside, you take a pitch and it's a strike and it hits the edge and you move your glove slightly to the outside so that it gets called a strike, but then the batter sees where it finishes and thinks, wait, that was a ball, and then challenges the pitch and then loses the challenge because, yes, it was a strike, but Patrick Bailey framed it just out of the zone after he caught it.
The ultimate deep. or
I would love to see that.
Like a close pitch, which Patrick Bailey knows is a strike, that's called a ball. And yeah, how would this work? I'm just trying to think of an opportunity for him to go, oh man. Yeah. And then the catcher goes, oh shoot, that's not a strike. or just fooling the batter in some way.
The problem is it has to happen within seconds.
Yeah,
you cannot, once the ball is thrown back to the pitcher and the pitcher starts, you can't challenge it that way. You have to challenge immediately. So it's got to be one of those things where you need to catch the batter's eye to say they called that a strike, but Patrick Bailey's glove is 2 inches off the plate,
right?
Because he pulls it out. But it would have to be one of those things where Patrick Bailey hears the strike call and quickly does it. Kind of a bang bang. But that'll be interesting. Things will develop as time goes on. We're also going to see strategies too of when do guys challenge. Are you challenging early in games? You're not going to be challenging with, 2 outs in the bottom of the first, nobody on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 3-2 pitch, and it's the difference between a walk and a strikeout. I don't know if you're going to be challenging that. There are going to be guys who are, like Patrick Bailey said in the article, you have to take the emotion out of it. And I think that's going to be the key. The emotional guys, those are the guys who are going to have a hard time not challenging. They don't want to get rung up on a 3-2 pitch. It doesn't matter what inning, what situation. So I think the managers are probably going to have to reel those guys in a little bit and say,
well,
hey,
and you come up to bat with the bags juiced in the 6th inning in a close game. Maybe the manager tells him before he goes up to plate, hey, if you think you're getting screwed here, you do have this opportunity, but you don't want them to think about it at the same time. So that'll be kind of interesting. By the way, going back to our WBC conversation, our guy Shelvin said Skeens was on Pat McAfee and said he would be on his 5 or 6 day rotation. So it looks like he should be there, for the ride. He's not going to be like Scooble.
Yeah. I still don't get that one. If you're going to pitch. I mean, one game in pool play against, I don't know, Brazil. Although Webb's pitching against Brazil, but whatever.
I guess the thing is, like, he's not on a contract full time. He doesn't have like a 6-year deal. Maybe if he had a 6-year deal, then he'd be a little bit more comfortable, right?
That's true. Because I think it's, it's obviously ultimately the decision of the team. It's not the player's decision. You're under contract. It's the team's decision. Last time it came around, Logan Webb wanted to pitch and the team said no. This time it came around, he wanted to pitch and the team was like, okay, look, hey, he's our ace. He's put in the time. He means a lot to this team. It's kind of good to see a giant out there too. That'll be nice to see.
Well, Buster himself said he was trying to talk Logan into doing it more towards the end of his career, kind of like what Kershaw is doing.
Right.
But Logan wasn't
but at that point, what does it matter? You know what I mean? Like if you like Clayton Kershaw's not coming in to throw, nasty curveballs and pitching 3 or 4 innings, 3 or 4 shutout innings. Clayton Kershaw is coming in as a, ceremonial retired pitcher. And I don't think Webb wants to do that. That's not worth it.
Yeah, and he may not get picked. He may not be good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because as time goes on, this may become more of a thing where guys are like, no, 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 no. I want to play for my country.
Yeah.
This is the Olympics. Because what we just saw with the U.S. Olympic team, I mean, that was phenomenal. The U.S. Olympic hockey team, that was
Mhm.
phenomenal. So guys see that, and all of a sudden you're like geeked up. But by then the rosters were already made. So in 3 years from now, is that feeling still going to be there? I don't know, but you know, there's got to be a marketing dude or lady who works this and goes out there and talks to the team, and it's like, shows the video of the U.S. Olympic hockey team winning it all and saying, "Look at this, man," and this guy even lost his teeth doing it. So that's
Mhm.
where that's where you got to put it out there.
One more thing about Patrick Bailey. Now, I was looking at his numbers, and his rookie year, he had 353 ABs,
Mm.
233 batting average, 285 on base, 359 slugging. Now, his batting average and on base haven't really changed that much since he became the full-time guy behind the dish. What has changed, though, is his slugging. As low as it was at 359 in his rookie year, it just keeps going down. 339,
Yeah.
325 last year. His OPS was 602 last year. So, we're getting to the point with him as a hitter where you're almost like, okay, he did have 6 home runs, eight home runs the year before. So he's not necessarily like a pitcher, but you're talking about one of the in a DH current Major League Baseball where you can use a DH. He's one of the least valuable hitters going for a position player. And I know he's talked about adjusting the swing a little bit. I know Mike Kruko's been on his behind every single year about being in better shape so that he can withstand the full season. And look, that dude, being a catcher is beating up your body enough. Like, I'm not trying to minimize that. That's what being a catcher is. So, if he was like a DH and not a catcher, he probably would have better numbers, but his entire value is as a receiver. Do you think there is opportunity in his game to improve as a hitter, or are we just being hopeful? Like, there are moments when he comes up to the plate and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, automatic out." Like, how when we used to play back in the day and you just had
Yeah,
automatic
yeah.
outs? It's like
Uh-huh.
that's what he is sometimes, is automatic
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
But
when
what do you think
when
about him as a hitter right now? Can he improve?
yeah, I think he can. And again, we're in a totally different coaching staff change here. Um Mance is a guy who got the Toronto Blue Jays to the World Series, helped get them to the World Series. And it was by putting the ball in play and changing hitting philosophy. They even mentioned in the article too that Patrick Bailey was amazed at how well the Blue Jays adjusted to the Giants pitching during the series, where when the Giants, I think it was right out of the All-Star break, the Giants went to Toronto. It's kind of a key series. The Giants got their butts kicked. I mean, they could not get anybody out. And so Patrick Bailey mentioned that, and he said it's just about being more aggressive, and just being more confident and being able to get the bat going early and then hold up if you have to change the stance a little bit. I think he can be, and again, Bags mentioned in the article, if he hits 260 with 15 home runs and 20 plus doubles, and plus his defense, he's an all-star catcher. I mean, he's a high war all-star catcher, and maybe in 3 years we see him in the World Baseball Classic as the starting catcher. He would be that valuable to the team in the catching position. I think he can improve. He has hit at certain levels in the minors. Um, he, as catchers get older, that disappears. So it's got to happen this season. I think we need to see some of those numbers this season. We saw that in September of last year. where for a whole month he was just on fire. So we need to see that early, and the numbers show that against starting pitching, he's even worse. He's at his worst against starting pitching. So it's a matter of getting going early in games, getting a couple hits, and then he actually catches fire against bullpen guys. And so, yeah, I think he can. I have hope. I still have hope. If we see another season like last year at the plate, it's going to be really hard for me to have faith in that he can become an offensive plus defensive catcher. But we'll see. I mean, this season is a tell.
If he hit 260 with 15 jacks,
Mm-hmm.
he might get drug tested.
there's
that would be double his power output, and he would jump his batting average by 30 points. That would be tremendous.
But yeah. But it's an approach thing, and if your first 3 or 4, let's say first 3 at bats of every game, 2 at bats, 3 at bats are against a starting pitcher, and your numbers were terrible that in those situations last year, and you can improve 50% on that. Yeah, maybe he does hit 15 home runs. They're not going to be in this ballpark. They're going to be on the road probably, but maybe if he hits 6 or 7 home runs at Oracle, and then he goes on the road and you play in some small ballparks. You do play in Cincinnati. You play in some ballparks where you can hit the ball out. And he hit a ball 107 off the bat left-handed the other day. That's something he hasn't done in years. So the improvement is already somewhat there in the spring. And he said he has a long ways to go. But again, we have a whole different hitting philosophy. It's not Pat Burrell. It's Ments. It's Toronto Blue Jays hitting philosophy. And so, yes, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Yes, I'm excited because if we have an all-star catcher, not just for his defensive prowess, but he can be an all-star catcher because he's hitting and because he's a defensive wizard behind the plate. That changes our mindset quite a bit, because then, like you said, you don't have the automatic out. You don't have that guy hitting in the 8 or 9 hole. That's going to be the automatic out. He can move runners along. He can hit the ball hard. He can find the gaps. And that's going to kind of keep the line moving.
Changing the discussion a little bit here. I was watching Moneyball the other day. When's the last time you've seen Moneyball?
When it first came out, probably. When did it come out? 2006?
Yeah, like mid-2000s at some point.
Yeah, probably around there. Yeah.
Ron Washington, or the character of Ron Washington, is in that movie.
Yeah.
So there's a scene where Billy Beane, played by Brad Pitt, and Ron Washington go to Scott Hatterberg's house or apartment. Scott Hatterberg, played by pre-Guardians of the Galaxy Chris Pratt.
Oh, wow.
And so the idea is like, Billy Beane's like, don't catch anymore. Your arm is hurt. You can play first base. And Hatterberg's like, I've never played first base before, get that kind of thing. And Billy Beane's like, yeah, it's a piece of cake, right, Wash? And Ron Washington's character goes, no, it's ridiculously hard. But the idea is that Wash would help him, right? Wash is the infield coach, and he's going to help him become a serviceable first baseman. And so I recently watched that over the weekend, and I just immediately thought of what Wash is doing with Arise and with Eldridge and Devers and guys like that. And, Ron Washington's now 73 years old. He's had the health issues of late. He said that he believes his health issues scared off every other team except for the Giants. And I was reading through, I think it was a John Shea piece in the San Francisco Standard, and he was talking about some of the old school methods that Ron Washington uses. And I was like, wait a second, I used to do that as a middle infielder when I was a little kid.
The pancake glove.
The pancake
I hadn't heard about that in a long time.
So my dad made a glove, which was a square piece of wood with a like some sort of glove. It was, a gardening glove or something.
like glued to it, right?
No, he stapled it.
Oh
It was
God, there you go.
stapled into the wood. And so the idea is, like, if you think of a glove, you can actually move your hand in the glove and you can catch it in the pocket. Well, with the board, you actually have to use the second hand to trap the ball.
Yeah.
And so every time you're fielding the ball with this piece of wood, you're using two hands and you're trapping the ball, and it gets you in the habit of doing that in the infield. And I was like, wow, I haven't heard of anybody doing that in forever. And, he's got poor Luis Ariz like using the pancake glove out there at second base. And, this man, makes $10 million a year. And he's like, he's got to be looking at this thing going like,
Yeah.
all right, I trust you.
Gonna roll one up into his teeth.
And then supposedly he got on Bryce Eldridge a little bit and, probably reeled off a word or two that Bryce has not heard in his lifetime of being a top prospect and having coaches probably kiss his ass for, his whole career. And Wash kind of got on him a little bit. And John Shea had wrote the quote from Eldridge, but it was very funny the way Eldridge, Eldridge's such a young guy, very funny the way he took that feedback as like, no, he's old school. This is positive. I thought that was really funny. So
I like that.
The idea of Washington trying to reshape the defensive prowess of some of these guys is very interesting. And, it's kind of one of those fun stories in spring training where, because there's not a whole lot going on and there's not real games, you have these opportunities to tell these stories. And that's kind of a cool one to think about, just, as a baseball person. You got this old school guy in this new school sport. Like, has Shohei Ohtani ever used a pancake glove before? Like, I can't even imagine. It's just this idea of like the fundamentals, and Buster Posey kind of attracted to someone like Ariz, who most of these teams don't want because it doesn't actually hit for any power, and a lot of it is based on BABIP and luck, and yet the Giants are like, nope, like we strike out way too much. We need this guy. And now we talked about Jung-Hoo Lee, like he's like, oh, like there's another way to do this. I'm gonna actually, kind of learn under the Ariz tree here and help my game. Like, there's some fun stories like that for the Giants. But I guess my overall question for you is, do these stories exist because the Giants are kind of in the middle of the road when it comes to actual talent? And like, if they were one of the favorites, if they were the Dodgers or the Blue Jays, you're probably not hearing about any of this stuff. They're probably not leaning in this direction, but because they're trying to kind of gain that edge with the roster that they have, I like these stories, but I don't want to be tricked into like, this is going to be great for the team. And what it really is that they just don't have enough talent or as much talent as some of these other teams.
Yeah. I don't know. That's kind of a tough one because we've been 500 for a couple of seasons now. Yeah. So we're obviously going to take anything right now and say, hey, this could turn into something. You're not gonna win. You're not gonna trade and get Mookie Betts. You're not going to sign Shohei, Yamamoto, Teoscar Hernandez. That's not what we're gonna do. Dodgers have already done that. They're the team that does that. You got to find different ways to win. And if that's trying to pick, hey, a pitching coach from the Brewers who always have fantastic pitching, a hitting coach from the Blue Jays who always have fantastic hitting, the best fielding coach on the planet in Wash, to get all of these guys together and to try to do it that way, win games on the fringes. I like it. What's your overall question on that?
I guess I just wonder if this is kind of Buster Posey magic tricks to get us to stop paying attention to what the real issue is, which is
I
we can't
yeah.
get the same players that the Dodgers are getting.
I don't think so. I think this is just an answer to that. I think this is just an answer to we can't get those guys. We're not going to get those guys, and we know that. You and I know that, right? There's the section of people on social media who are like, they got Ohtani. Why didn't we get Ohtani? Because Ohtani was going to Los Angeles. That's it. You're not going to change that. You could have given him, I don't know, 3 bidets in the clubhouse, and we're not getting Shohei Ohtani. He's going to the Dodgers. Same with Yamamoto. Same with Sasaki. It's just that was kind of the destiny, and that was what was going to happen. So I think Buster Posey is just saying, look, these are our alternatives, but they aren't our alternatives. They are our reality. This is how we have to win. We have to win on the fringes. We've got to score extra runs. We can't give up outs on the base paths. We can't be bad defensively. We have to make the plays. Because if you look at it again, we're 3 wins away last year from going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right. And that's an offseason. You're not going to win 84 games every season to make the playoffs like the Reds did, right? You're going to have to win probably 87 to 92 games each year to go to the playoffs. So if the Giants could pick up 6, 7, 8 more wins, they're in the playoffs. Once you get into the playoffs, if you can build yourself a pitching staff, which I don't think the Giants have done this season, but if you can do that going forward and build yourself a really, really nasty 3-man rotation, 4-man rotation if you need it, plus some dirty bullpen guys, which the Giants are trying to do, with Henkes and some of the other guys that they picked up. I think that's the Giants' game. And they're going to use, as you see behind me, if you're watching the live stream, the ballpark behind me, if you're looking at that and you're trying to get everything you can out of your roster in that ballpark, I think that's, again, not the alternative. I think that's the reality. That's just what we have to be. I don't think they can come out and say that, though. You and I just have to deduce that from what we've seen. I don't think Buster Posey is going to come out and say we can't compete with the Dodgers when it comes to personnel, when it comes to signings, so we're doing it this way. We see it. We know it's happening. I like it so far. I'm enjoying it so far. The Giants are tearing up the Cactus League, which doesn't mean jack squat, but still, it's fun to watch, and it's fun to see your team beat the Dodgers in a spring training game 12-2, even though the Dodgers didn't send anybody to spring training in their lineup, but we still, got to Yamamoto a little bit, which was kind of nice to see.
Mm-hmm. On the juice, he might get an extra 3 wins just with the bat there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's end with this. And this is not even really anything other than I saw this note in one of the websites, the 2028 All-Star game. Now, you mentioned earlier that we don't have Olympics for baseball.
Right.
In 2028, they're trying to pull that off, and they're trying to pull it off with big leaguers. I think it's supposed to be like a 6-country tournament or something. And the idea is for the 2028 Olympics, if that happens, where Major League Baseball players go to the Olympics, they may push up San Francisco's All-Star bid to 2028 just because of the proximity to LA, because it would be All-Star break, All-Star game, and then that next weekend, then they'd be in LA for the Olympics. So just because of the closeness, San Francisco would get bumped up to the All-Star weekend that year, which would, I don't know if I really care about the Olympics in baseball.
Yeah,
it's, we have the World Baseball Classic, which is kind of like the Olympics in baseball. But that would be a way for San Francisco to get the whole thing back. And that, that'll be fun because in last year, the NBA All-Star game was in San Francisco, and we were at the arena. We did not pay for tickets to go in, but we just kind of wanted to be around the whole area to feel what the vibe was. And we walked around. We were in San Francisco pretty much all day. We went to a Ringer live podcast and just hung out in the city, and it was just fun kind of being around the thing. But the baseball has more events. Like, yeah, maybe for $100 you get in a futures game and you get to see that, maybe probably the home run derby at this point might be even more expensive than the actual All-Star game. But like there's little
True.
events that you can go to and kind of go hang out. That would be kind of fun. I think I would probably maybe not on that Tuesday, because a Tuesday afternoon or a Monday afternoon on a work day in San Francisco, probably not the easiest place to kick it, but that weekend, right? Though they would have
Yeah.
events at Oracle that weekend, and that would kind of be fun just to be around that experience. So that might be something that I would look into.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool, and to have it back in the Bay Area, and the reason you don't care and I don't care about baseball and the Olympics is because we haven't had that moment. You know, Olympic hockey has had 1980.
Yeah.
Olympic basketball has had 1992.
Mhm.
These years where it was like, oh my god, that was magical. Olympic baseball has not had that because it's a long game. Now, with a 2.5 hour game, it might be a little bit different. Um, Especially because we have the WBC. Again, it's not Olympics. It's not playing for your country on a large stage. Um, the world is watching Olympic hockey and basketball. The world is not necessarily watching the WBC. You've especially and then when you're talking World Cup soccer, that's the entire world. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody is watching that.
Which is
So
much bigger than soccer in the Olympics.
absolutely. I mean, it is the biggest thing. It is the biggest tournament on the planet, and that is the World Cup, and that's coming up in June here in the
Mhm.
United States. So that's pretty. I love soccer. I'm a huge fan. Um, so I think Olympic baseball would need to have that moment. The WBC is a taste of that. It gives us an entry into it of what it could possibly be. But I think on a bigger stage like the Olympics, where you've got those 2 weeks and everybody's watching because people who don't normally watch sports will watch the Olympics.
Mhm.
To have that moment, I think that could possibly grow the game exponentially more than the WBC could.
Well, and I think that's the point for Team USA wanting to have a team is
Mhm.
for the same reason that, and you mentioned the 92 NBA dream team in the Olympics. That was the whole reason why they did it, is because they wanted to expand the global footprint of
Right.
the NBA. And now, some of the best players in the NBA are international. They're not Americans. Um, yeah, I think I think the Olympics themselves are going to have to take baseball seriously. Um, I can't imagine though that Major League Baseball will break up their season if the Summer Olympics was in Italy or in Greece or in another country that is outside of the US, just because like we're right in the middle of baseball season. However, the NHL is able to make it work. And
Yeah.
so you can actually look to the NHL as a blueprint for how they do it. Now, baseball probably looks at it and, kind of with their nose in the air going like, of course, like, they don't make as much money as we do or whatever. But the NHL is
It's
kind of
physical
in
though.
a but they're in a league renaissance right now. Like
They are.
the NHL is kind of hot again. So they're doing a lot of the right things, and they had that one tournament last year. What did they call it? The world
It was
the
the Nations
nations,
Cup.
yeah.
Yeah, the 4 nations. Yeah, I'm a fan. I get my Vegas Golden Knights hockey in. But yeah, and they could do it. And what they did is Wednesday they came back to play. They had a full slate of games, but a lot of the guys from the USA team and the Canada team who played in the final, they didn't play Wednesday night. they sat out. Vegas had 5 guys who played in the finals for Canada and USA. None of those guys played, but they still won the game. But so there's a little bit of extra rest. Yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to come from it. Sidney Crosby, one of the world stars, got hurt, and he plays for Pittsburgh, and he got hurt during the Olympics. But again, he could get hurt just as easily during a regular game.
You could expand the rosters for those couple of weeks and
absolutely
not have the, your prospect from AAA not have that account for an option like during a regular season. Like he's just there because you could do stuff like that. So
for hockey, it's ingrained. The Olympics is ingrained in hockey. It's not in baseball. So that's the hard part. What are you playing for in the middle of a very long, hot summer season? When you go to the Olympics, you're playing for your country, but what does it really mean to those guys? So that's going to be the key, is we got to figure that part out.
All right, that is it from here. So we'll be back next week, and we'll have some WBC to talk about. I think Team USA will have played a couple of games already by the time we chat again. And yeah, so I think we have 2 more shows, and then you go on vacation.
Yep.
And then I am going to try and have my buddy Draven, and we'll do some Giants Dodgers stuff. But all right, yeah, things are coming up quickly, so it's going to be Netflix the 25th before we even know it.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I can't believe we're already here. We're in the month of the opening of the season. Here we are.
All right. That is it from here. For Brad, I am Double G. See you when we see you. Peace out.
Peace.